Hello my friend, welcome back to the Ascended Spiritual Warrior. Today's fascinating near-death experience comes from a man named Donald who fell from a tree at the age of 10. If this is your first time on our channel, welcome. I appreciate you being here. These videos are meant to build faith in a world that seems to be faithless and to prove that there is life on the other side. If you enjoy these videos, then please click the like, subscribe and bell icon so you'll get notified of any new out-of-body experience and near-death experience stories we upload. For our returning viewers, you know what to do. Grab a beverage, sit back, relax and enjoy today's story. In the summer, prior to entering the 5th grade, I fell from our backyard tree. It had been infected with sparse badworm disease. The limb that I was swinging from let go, and I fell approximately 15 feet. I broke both arms, with my left arm being severely injured. I also impacted mud into my nose and throat. The lawn and bare ground around the tree was wet from rain from the prior night. Initially, as the branch snapped and I started to fall, I was surprised to be caught mid-air by a bright glowing being which carried me upwards. Upon reaching a glowing night landscape, I was released. I became quite euphoric and joyous. I immediately recalled jewels floating everywhere. As I moved my hand around them, I came to the awareness that I was flying and floating above our house. I had a wide-angle view and began looking at the lighthouse from the rooftop. I remember laughing at what my mom would say if she saw me on the top of our 3-story home. I remember looking into the 2nd-story window of my parents' bedroom. At this point, I started to hear someone calling my name, but this voice was saying Donald, not Donnie, which everyone used, including my parents. I ignored the voice until a very stern woman's voice said it again. I turned and saw a tall, square-jawed, heavy and slightly overweight woman in a yellow, flower-patterned sundress. I asked her who she was and she said, "I'm your grandmother." None of this was spoken in human language because I never saw her lips move. When I said, "No, you're not. I know what my gram looks like and it's not you." At this point, I had only my paternal grandmother living, and that was the grandmother I was talking about. She then said, "All mothers have a mother, and that mother has a mother, and I am one of those." As she said this, in my mind I saw little pictures going back each generation. I noticed her image there 2 or 3 generations back. I reached out and took her hand and she smiled. As we walked, I asked her where we were and was somewhat surprised with her reply of heaven. In a peculiar way, I seemed to doubt her and I said, "If I'm in heaven, then I want to see Jesus." I was even more surprised when she said, "Okay." As we moved on, I realized the area around us had changed and I was aware of a glowing building, for lack of better words. As we moved, I was aware that I thought it must be a library because people were reading and learning. In one room, I was surprised to see an Indian, and as I thought that, a very annoyed reply came from the elaborate painted and feathered individual. "I am not an Indian, I am a..." I have often thought of what he must have said. I remember how he was dressed and think he was one of the South American native tribes on the line of the Mayans, but remember only being bewildered and replying, "Look like an Indian to me." A little way later, after seeing other beings reading and learning, my gram stopped and said, "Wait here." She would let Jesus know I was here. I remember that I thought I was outside the school's principal's office. Oddly, I seemed to slightly hear the conversation in this office as him on the telephone. After the short wait, I seemed to hear the phone received set down just prior to him saying, "Yes, okay, right, goodbye." Then I got very nervous as I saw movement, a bright glow moving to the opening. I would have to say that at this point I was awestruck. At this point, the light was too much, and I humbly lowered my head. I never got a clear view of this being my mom had talked so much about. This would be the part that bothered me the most when I started to relive it later on. My gram at this moment said what I thought was, "Yes, you're a man, this is Donald." I was confused as to why she didn't just say, "Jesus, this is Donald," but was too busy trying to understand why he was so bright. I even tried to look through my slightly open fingers just to get a glimpse. While I struggled to see, I remember him saying very little to Graham. All of a sudden, I was aware he was searching, or maybe viewing my childhood up until that point. I remember him stopping at a memory of mine of which I was ashamed. I saw the event, the theft of a toy rubber knife from a main department store, from a different angle. I saw me from a distance running out the loading dock door and home. It was all from a distance and detached. He paused slightly to see my reaction and with no judgment whizzed through the rest. After this, my gram and he talked. She turned to me and said, "You have to go back." I think I even surprised myself when I said, "No, I want to stay here." Graham said that would make my family very sad because they loved me very much. I said, "No, they don't," and was told to look. As I looked down through what I thought was a television, I could see my sister and brothers trying to revive me. My older sister was digging the mud out of my throat and nose. I was surprised. I could hear her saying, Donnie, breathe, please," as she slapped my face. Then my gram bent down and while on one knee turned me around and looked me straight in the face. With her hands on my shoulders, she said the words that would haunt me. "Donald, you have to go back, but remember you are a part of something very important." As I turned to look again at what was happening with my body, being confused to what my gram meant, and before I could inquire, I felt a huge push from behind. I fell headlong into the limp body and started gasping and gulping for air. The pain was awful. I started to relate what had happened, but no one believed a word. Over the time, I even forgot. Sounds impossible, but when all your family tells you you're mistaken, even you start to believe it. So back into the back of my memory it went. I was married for 8 years and had the last of our 4 children born when this all started coming back to me. In dreams, hearing certain things, and then my brother tells me the Hebrew name for Jesus was Yeshua. Boom. What a lot of memories then. I didn't get to tell my mother the whole story until she was in the hospital and had only 2 weeks to live. She made me promise to tell my siblings, all 7 of them. When I finally told my wife, she said, "Honey, I can see why you never told anyone. You're afraid no one would believe you." I laughed aloud and was surprised to hear myself say, "No dear, I didn't tell anyone because I didn't believe it. Because after years of being an atheist, it didn't have a place." I'd like to end by saying that I've tried over the last 5 years to tell people about this event. Even now, when I get to the point where Yeshua comes out to greet me, I get that same rush of emotions. It gets me crying and embarrassed. I think that's why when they asked me if I knew my mother and family loved me, I said, "No, not like this." It seems that love in the physical sense is nothing compared to real love.